Hello, everybody, and welcome to Choice, Change and Action podcast. So you are with me, your host, Simone Milasas, and I am in Prague, Czech Republic. We have Global Foundation starting in a couple of days. It's all very exciting. I'm at my second stop in Europe. I'm here for 3 months, so you'll see way more of me here in Europe. And Vienna was my first stop. Amazing, beautiful. Thank you, Vienna. And now Prague, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. I've very much been a big fan of nature, and I would always go and look for nature when I traveled around the world. Prague was one of the first cities that I ever went to when I was 19, so quite a while ago, that I went to this city in Prague and I went, holy shit, cities can be this beautiful. It is absolutely stunning. I walk around this place and I do get that I'm home. Like, I've definitely had other lifetimes in Prague for sure. It's a great, one of those cities that's great to get lost in. You just keep walking and walking and walking. So, and today I have Kalpana Raghuraman. Kalpana Raghuraman. Kalpana. She's like the Kalpana. So welcome, Kalpana.
Yes, Raghuraman.
Beyonce, Kalpana.
Hi, Simone. Thanks for having me.
And you're not in Prague yet. You fly here tonight. Not yet. She's coming. So I asked Kalpana to come on this podcast. So I'm going to be blatant upfront. Is she's actually doing a class with Gary Douglas at the castle in Italy that we have, which, by the way, we have up for sale at the moment, and it's looking like it might sell. So if you want to get to the castle, I would highly recommend coming to this class. The class is, I'm just looking at the dates, it's the 21st and 22nd of June. And it's, is it called Manipulation 201?
Yeah, Gary gave that title.
Okay, cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Manipulation 201. Love it. It's not 101, it's 201. So
Exactly.
Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and Kalpana will be co-facilitating this class. And it's such a big topic, manipulation, because even if I say it now as you're listening and I'm talking about manipulation, it's like, if you're listening, how many of you separate yourself from manipulation? Because most of the times you have a judgment about it. It's like, oh, he manipulated me. She's manipulative. Or, that's how we hear this in a sentence. And yet manipulation is such a different energy. And that's what I would like to explore with you today, Kalpana. So let's start with, how do you see manipulation? What is manipulation for you?
Yeah, definitely used to be like, bad thing, get out of here.
I would never.
I would never. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. The perspective of access is something that I really thought was so actually you're horizon expanding. It's like, hey, if it's not about, because in this world, if you say manipulation, it's like making people do what they don't want to do, which is unkind. Then I heard Gary Douglas speak about it and say like, hey, but what if manipulation is actually inviting you to create, inviting you to be present and see what's possible? And I was like, oh, that makes me really excited. And as I've been going through my journey of life, I realized like now for me, manipulation is inviting somebody to what is available and inviting myself to be present with that and being the energy for that. So there's a situation, your flight gets canceled, everybody's upset, and we go, ah! And if you were functioning from this energy of manipulation, I have an example. I remember going to Costa Rica first time and my flight got canceled and everybody was all, upset with the lady at the desk and she didn't cancel the flight herself. So
Yeah.
I just went up to her and went like, hey, are you okay? A lot of angry people in the house. And she's like, oh my God, somebody's like seeing me. That was like creating a connection and creating an energy of possibility. And in the end, she got me on a flight and I got to Costa Rica earlier than my original flight.
Okay, we need to break this down because
Yeah.
I think we're really hitting on something here. Is, like we both said at the beginning, is when you hear manipulation, you separate yourself from it because we've decided it's bad, terrible, and awful. Can you break this down for people of what part of that story you just told was a manipulation?
The part of that I told as a manipulation is me actually being present with the lady at the desk and not projecting at her or being upset with her, right? Because we are in reaction and we're upset about a situation and then that person has to solve it for us, but we're not including them. And in manipulation, you actually are seeing somebody and being with them and including them, and from there looking at what you can create. So
So go
my
ahead,
comment,
sorry.
like, how are you, was like, I'm included.
Yeah, I love that. So I've just Googled, right? Because, it's like, because the thing is, we function from, well, we hear this reality. What Choice, Change and Action podcast is about is going beyond this reality. And everybody I have on here, hopefully, is inviting you to that possibility as well. And that's what Kalpana is doing here with manipulation. I love this topic. So if I Google, like, what does manipulation mean? It says the action of manipulating something in a skillful manner. So here's the thing. Kalpana just did something that was actually skillful, right? Now, if I go scroll further down, it also says manipulation means pressuring others, sometimes in sneaky ways, to get what you want. That's this reality. And that is true. And let's talk about that as well, about that part. But what if we didn't disregard manipulation? It's sort of like that old saying of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You don't need to throw manipulation out. It's like, what if you could use it in a different way? So then it also says the person doing the manipulating, called the manipulator, seeks to be in control, right? That's, again, I think this reality's description of it. But I like it says they're usually very good at reading emotions, but use that skill to pick up on your weakness and take advantage of you. What if that was totally flipped? And that's what I get you're talking about, is you read that lady too. Like you said, she wasn't the one that decided to cancel the flight. She's just the one that just has to deal with all the angry people. So can you talk about, like, this reality's descriptive, I'm going to say very judgmental point of view of manipulation, and how and when that is used, and then what you're talking about, like, how do you slide in and out of between that and not defend against manipulating?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, I think the word judgment, what you said, like, we judge that part of the, sneaky way. That's what we judge. That's what the mean thing is. And then we go, oh, I don't want to be sneaky. I don't want to be unkind. So I'm just not going to do it. And you kind of dismiss everything. Like you said, you throw the baby with the bathwater out. But if you look at, like, that skillful part and that presence, like reading emotions, that lady just needed a moment of like 5 seconds to have a breather, which
Yeah.
which then opens up the space. So that's the part where you actually look at what you can create. And I think for me, the difference about the way this reality sees manipulation and when we speak about it in an access is, you don't judge manipulation. When somebody's doing whatever they're doing, you don't make it right or wrong. It's just a way of what you can choose. And in manipulation, in this reality, is like, it's for me. I want to get something out of it and I will use you to get it. And in access, it's like, hey, what can I create here that works for everybody? And if they want it, if they don't want it, they don't want it. I can't control that. So I was creating something for her by saying, how are you? And I was creating something for me by looking at the flight. So it's like a kind of like this win-win if you talk about this reality's way of looking at it.
I just realized too, it's like, how much does this reality do manipulation from, like, reaction? And
Yeah.
the way you're describing this is manipulation is more of an action.
Yeah.
Not
Because
not vested in the outcome either, though, like, not going to the conclusion. I mean, obviously you wanted to get to Costa Rica and you wanted to get another flight, you know,
yeah.
and yet just acknowledging the energy. I like that. You said to me just before we started this, I asked you a question. You said, looking at manipulation as a creation. I think most people look at manipulation as a destruction, not as a creation.
Yeah.
So how else can you, like, let's look at a few different angles here with manipulation as a creation. You pick one, whether it's with family, bodies, relationships, money, like some of those running themes that most people think they have a problem with.
I mean, I think relationships and manipulation is like so
Oh,
interesting, and family relationships, those are really like it happens all the time. And um it is that, that moment where you're not in reaction, but where you're in action, is where you actually can see the creation energy. And relationships is so much like, how much can we trigger each other and how much do we get triggered? How much are we in reaction? Right?
yeah. So then how would you describe control with manipulation? Like, where does
Yeah.
control come into it or not come into it?
That's a really interesting question, I think, because control has this energy of like, right? Like, have to get it all together, have to be on top of things, have to control. And then there's this control that has a relaxation, which has like you're present with everything and you're like, okay, what's required? And that's a different energy of control. And for me, it's not that I have to be on top, I have to push, I have to force, I have to be reactive, I have to make sure, I have to, I have to be the boss. That's so for me, that control energy has a flip side of it where there's like, I'm here, all
Yeah.
this is going on. And now what do I need to be or do? What question can I ask? Oh, this lady needs that energy. Here I go. Or I actually need to shut up now, which is like one of the greatest tools in Access, I think. Know when to shut up.
I was just talking to someone about that this morning. And
Oh.
so let's talk about this for 1 second, like sidebar, because I was talking to someone about it this morning with facilitating, and Gary taught me something a while ago. I was co-facilitating with Shannon O'Hara. It was a telecall that we did ages ago. And I rang him and I said, hey, what have you got? Like, I was thinking, like, where else can we go with this telecall? Like, what next? And he goes, shut the fuck up. And I went, what? I thought he was going to give me this amazing process or something, And he goes, shut the fuck up. And I went, okay. And I went, what do you mean? He said, Simone, you need to give people space. And I was talking to a facilitator about this today, about how when we ask a question, I mean, anything like, what does this mean to you? Or what are you sick of? Or blah, 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 something like that. How often we quickly go into the POC and pod rather than actually allowing the space to be there. Because when there's a space, it might not be cognitive, but there's a whole lot of stuff that shows up, and really relaxing. And I get that's a manipulation as well, is relaxing into being in question and allowing what can show up next.
Yeah.
And one of the things too, with relationship I was looking at is Kalpana and myself are both relationship done different facilitators, and there's a lot of RDD, we shorten it, of course, facilitators out there in the world. So we'll put the link in the subscription note to find those as well, because relationship is something that you just keep exploring and exploring. And for me too, it's like, for years we've used, and women, I can talk about women because I'm a woman, right, have been programmed to control their partner and use manipulation in order to get what they think they want. What if you manipulated with kindness and you empowered your partner to be everything that they can be, which may even mean losing them? Like, how often do we use manipulation? I'm going to say like the controlling, ugly manipulation compared to what you're talking about, Kalpana. Use that controlling, ugly manipulation because we think we don't want to lose something. What if we were willing to lose everything? Then what could you manipulate into existence that would expand everything? And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right, non good and bad, POC and pod, all 100 shorts, boys, provids, creations, bases, and beyonds. This is like really a big, massive topic, because getting out of that, it's sort of like chipping away at that, that harsh, controlling, forceful, ugly manipulation into something that can be amazingly potent and really beautiful is what I get. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
so what else would you like? What other topic, like with manipulation, or would you invite people into to have a look to just start playing with the tools here?
I was speaking about shutting up being such an important tool, and then you gave this great example, but it's also where we are constantly engaging with people, with things. Even if you're all alone at home, there's things going on, and if you can just look at where you are jumping in and where you can be like, hey, wait, just stop for a moment. It's a huge space that opens up. Or like, so in a meeting, shut up, just let them talk. Because a lot of times if you don't speak, people will expose themselves. People will show you what you need to know. You just need to wait. There's this Netflix series called, what is it, The Residence, and there's this very very nice one, and this she's a detective figuring out some murder at the White House, she will call in a suspect, and she will just
Oh,
look at him.
it's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, and she'll just sit there, and that person will be like, "Hey, what do you want to know?" And she'll be like, and I was just laughing, but it's actually like really effective. And she's quite extreme in that series, but it's just this power of silence is very underestimated. And for me, it's one of the great tools of manipulation. It's where you can just like be like, so sometimes you just need people, things have to work out. You're just like, just be there. Don't jump in, don't force, and like then look at what action you can take.
I love it. And I give some home play for that too, because there's two things. One, if you're in a car with someone, like have a look at who's willing to be silent. Like I did a car ride once from Alice Springs to Uluru in Australia, and it's 5 hours in the desert. There's one turn with Sarah Watt. Sarah Watt is amazing. Like, and she will give you silence big time. I think we spoke like 3 times, and it was really like, it was just a beautiful drive. Like both having, things, we didn't need to talk about everything. But most people will try and fill that space and that silence with a conclusion as well. And then so in a car, and the next time too, is if you have some sort of like dinner party or something like that, see how much people just go to fill in a conclusion and talk about crap rather than actually be. Like you mentioned before, it's like people looking at what they have to do, and it's like, what if you could be in that moment? What would you choose? What space could you be? Great manipulation, like brilliant manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also where you don't, we speak a lot about being in question and access consciousness. And that's where you can be the question, because you're not jumping in this reaction chain, right? But you're like being that space, and you're like, hey, I will not say anything. And it's such and things resolve themselves, or things show up because you're not pushing anything. And even being that silence and being that space, it can confuse people, it can make people whatever, but it a lot of times just really opens up a space for something else. So it is so powerful and underestimated.
So do you have an area that you have noticed that change for you opening up that space? And also I want to ask you, do you recall a time or a tool that Gary Douglas has given you where that has worked with manipulation like this?
I mean, that second question, I definitely have a very direct example. It was when I just started Access Consciousness, and I'm also a choreographer. I by now have a dance company, but then did not yet. And I was in a bit of a conflict with the artistic director of the theater that I was working at. And I had some money that the theater was taking care of, and they didn't want to give it to me. And I got this big chance, and yeah. And then I literally remember Gary was like, you just have to be what you need to be. What do you need to be here? And I asked myself, what do I need to be here? Oh, this guy doesn't want me to be like feisty and strong. He needs me to be sorry. And so on the way driving to the meeting, I was like, oh God, I have to be sorry, but I'm not sorry, but I should be sorry. And then I was like, hey, I am many things. I can be sorry for 2 seconds.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
tap into that. So I went to the meeting, and the guy had his boxing gloves on, already. And then I just went, hey, before we start, I just really want to say sorry. Like if I said anything, like if I confused you, but I was just really excited. And all of this was true. I was really excited, but I might have been like too intense for you. And he just melted, and he just went, it's okay. And that opened up a space for a real conversation instead of
Yeah,
boxing gloves. So that's
that's
Gary
brilliant.
gave me that tool, gave me that
That's
question.
brilliant. I love that. And it reminds me a long, long time ago, Gary said to me one day, Simone, and I went, yeah. And he went, sometimes you have to act pathetic. And I was like, what? He
What's
was like,
that?
yeah, sometimes you have to act pathetic in order to change something, in order to get something. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I mean, I'm a very, independent, strong. I don't need anyone or anything. Same as you, Kalpana. And there's so many women out there like that. And yet, part of the manipulative, creative energy for me is the ability to receive. And, as you spoke about that energy, that slither of when you go, but I'm not sorry. It's like, how many of you spend your whole entire life sitting in that energy of, but I'm not sorry. And it's like, that's about being right and having this, like, you just put your dukes up too, rather than, who gives a fuck? What if you were sorry for a minute? See what else can show up from that. And one of the things that changed my life with men, I would say, is I was on a plane with a friend of mine, and I was in the window seat and he was sitting in the aisle, and I went to go get my bag from up the top, and quite capable of getting my bag from up the top, and he looked at me and he said, Simone, he said, do you realize if you ask me, I will move mountains for you?
Mm.
And I was like, okay. And he goes, can I get your bag for you? And I went, and that moment, Kalpana, was like that, but I can
Yeah.
get it. And I went, yeah, that would be amazing. And I was like, thank you so much. And I've noticed ever since then how
Mm.
often a man will offer to help me, whether it's on a plane or with my bags or anything like that. And how much we go to, like, the judgment of, oh, it means we're weak, or it means this. No, what if it actually means you're receiving? Like, for me, I think with manipulation too, whatever your definition is, whatever your judgment is now, sit with it and flip it. Like, flip it. What if you could destroy and uncreate everything that you've decided manipulation is? And what could, as Kalpana so brilliantly mentioned, manipulation as a creation be for you today? And everything it doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100, shorts, boys, provads, creations, bases, and beyonds. Oh, I love this.
Mm. Such a good conversation, and such a beautiful energy that you just showed us with that conversation on the plane, because that moment where you go into, I'm not sorry, or I don't need help, and you go, oh, but I don't need it, but I could have it.
Yeah.
And like you relaxing into it is that creation energy also for that other person. You're gifting them something as well. Like everybody gets to receive.
Let's talk about that. Let's expand on that, Kalpana, because that's a brilliant, beautiful piece, is that as you're receiving, you're also gifting to them too.
Yeah, because that person has the joy of getting, they want to contribute to you. And a lot of times we go like, I'm fine, I don't need it. Like, do I look so pathetic? And it's like, hey, and then you dismiss them and reject them. But when you go, hey, oh my God, thank you so much, they have the joy of contributing and being there for you. And we dismiss that, but it's huge and it creates so much for everybody, which is for me the beautiful energy of manipulation that Access Consciousness shows us. It's like, it's for everybody. It's not just about me. It's not a secret agenda. I want something from you. You have to get this from, it's like this opening space,
Yeah. Well, even when you spoke originally about that story with the lady with the plane, of course you want to get on a plane, like Captain
Obvious.
Obvious, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
like, hello. So it's, for me, when you just said that, it's like not about having an agenda. It's almost like you do have an agenda, but it's really obvious. Yeah, of course I want to get on a plane, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to yell and scream at you in order to get on a plane. That's not going to work. So
Yeah.
looking at each moment and going, well, what will work here? And another thing that Gary Douglas has taught me too, and this is in the workspace, is
Mm.
acknowledging people, which is a manipulation, and it's also an acknowledgement. And because I find is, and I've written about this in the book Joy of Business, and both Kalpana and I obviously facilitate business, done different classes too. So, and there's a lot of JCFs out there.
Yeah.
And this is a big topic in business as well, because if you can manipulate in business, holy shit, not from the evil, judgmental way that you think it is, from the let's create something different. Let's have a different reality. Okay. So everywhere that you're not willing to have a different reality in business, like your friggin' potent, possibility reality where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100, shorts, boys, proverts, creations, bases, and beyonds. But look at who you're dealing with and who's in front of you. Like, if I'm dealing with Kalpana, it's like she's, she's a woman. She's chosen a woman's body, okay? Does she do business like a woman, or does she do business more like a man, right?
Mm.
And this was so freeing for me, because there are so many women who do business more like men, which I would say both you and I do business more like men,
Yeah.
which neither is right or wrong either. But it's more like, okay, what's happening? Dun, 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 dun. We don't have to sit down and talk about our feelings and share, etc. Whereas a woman, there's a little bit of a conversation that you need to have before. And I know men who function like women in business. So if I'm going to meet up with them, I need to do something like, hey, how was your weekend? How was your date last night? Like, engage in something that has to do with them and their life, and then they become present. So as Kalpana was saying too, it's so much about like, how do you create that presence so that we can take some action, move some stuff, allow something different to show up. So when you are doing business, it's just ask in your head, does this person do business like a man or a woman? Again, neither's right or wrong, but just because the way you do business doesn't mean that's the way somebody else is going to. Because I'm very direct and I work really well with other people who are direct, but I've learned to acknowledge when somebody isn't and they need a little bit of like even, your outfit is amazing today. You look absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm not lying. They do look beautiful, but that person requires something to be more present with you. What is that? It could be like they've got a book in their hand. Oh, what book is it you're reading?
Nice.
Anything. Yeah. What did you do on the weekend? Whatever. It's like that presence. That's also, a manipulation too.
Beautiful. But it's
Yeah.
really an acknowledgement of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a I'm getting relaxed from this conversation.
Oh, good. Oh, wow. Imagine if you could be relaxed from manipulating. And gosh, manipulating with kids, oof, that's a whole other game. So you have been very successful, Kalpana, in your dance company. I mean, I like the way you said that before, but it was a bit of a like, oh yeah, and this. And it's like, you are like, congratulations. We will also have links to Kalpana's, dance company and her performances and everything upcoming, because it's brilliant what you've created. So at the risk of them listening, but see, that's the thing. Nobody ever wants to know when they're manipulating. It's like, tell us, like, in what ways do you manipulate within the dance company?
It's actually a lot of times people like I actually this is I'm looking at what I can say, but one of the things is like actually including, like, for example, making a performance. A lot of times, like, I am a director, I'm choreographing, but I'm also directing. I'm talking to light designer, to the music, costume, da 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 da. And when I go, guys, I have no clue what I'm going to do here, which is like very goes against the grain. You're supposed to know everything. And I'll just be like, hey, I really don't know yet. I have all these ideas. You include them, because then they're like, oh, what can I contribute to that conversation?
Perfect.
So it's a way where I go, hey guys, I don't really know yet. I'm thinking about this. How does that land with you? Or shall we try this? And they'll be like, oh, but can we? And they'll chip in, and they'll
Brilliant.
feel they are not just like a doll, right, being placed, or
Yeah.
they're like part of it. And it's such a beautiful way of creating, but it is a manipulation.
I love that. Thank you so much, because it's inclusive and it's also empowering. So, I mean, how many of you listening to this thought that manipulation was about disempowering?
Yeah.
What if manipulation is actually empowering? I mean, I had a meeting this morning too, and there's some people in the meeting, and I was like, okay, so if it wasn't about the money and it wasn't about the people, what would we choose with this project and this project that would allow more to show up? And they were like, oh, okay. And like having a look at it. And it's like looking at the energy of what's actually required. Like, let's not choose from lack. Let's choose from what's actually going to expand this. And actually, throughout the meeting, we got to, I think we need to create some change here and then allow the space. Again, what we were talking about, because the space can deliver so much more than trying to conclude what's next. So you gave everybody you work with space and empowered them at the same time. I love that.
And also just by that kind of unexpected openness, in a way, it's like where you just create like, oh wow, and it creates really a space. It's actually really well said, Simone. And that for me is really where we can see that creation is not forcing, and that's a lot of business done different is about that, right? It's really about like, how can we flow, how can we change what you just explained, what's required. And this is what I this is how I function with my dance company, and it's very different. So people come from other companies. I work with freelancers, and they're just like, when is she going to get angry? When is she going to throw a fit? Oh, she doesn't. Okay. Sometimes I'm like, this is not working. I'll just be like, hey guys, this is really not working. Can we get? But it's like, they'll be like, yeah, you're right. It's just like Very different.
That's awesome. I love that. When is she going to throw a fit?
I had it one project. These dancers, many of them were new and some of them weren't, and they apparently asked like, "So does she like get angry? Like I haven't seen her lose her shit yet." They were a bit confused because these choreographers are like divas, having their moments, and I wouldn't. I just
Right.
laugh, and I'll be like, "Okay, guys, I have no clue. Let's try this," and it's just different.
Captain Obvious, it's not working right now. So
Yeah.
let's talk about let's I mean, I know we're nearly at the end of the podcast here, but let's like weave in leadership then
Hmm.
with that. How do you see leadership working with manipulation?
Yeah, I mean, that space that you spoke
Yeah.
about, actually empowering space, including people, that's where for me it's really tied in. If you are functioning from that, I need to know everything and be on top of it and control everybody, that's the leadership we know from this world. And then you're doing this forcing, and from if you include that manipulation energy of inclusion and presence, space, empowerment, that's true leadership for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And leadership is not a dictatorship. It's
No.
but well, a lot of people, but that's the thing. I think so many things, Kalpana, like manipulation, like leadership, have been misconstrued as something. So we avoid it rather than lean into it and go, well, how could this work to my advantage? Like, if I was being a leader here, what would I choose? Like you say, so many of the dance directors are divas. And it's like, but how many of them are divas because they actually are judging what they've decided they're not? So they'll
Yeah.
be a diva rather than be willing, like right at the beginning when you said about, saying I'm sorry to that guy, putting your walls and barriers down and going, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. And going, okay, this is not working. What else? Like who else has something? What else? But for me, it's like also listening, like surrounding yourself by capable people and listening and to their awareness. Everybody has a different awareness, and also that leadership of knowing which one matches the energy of
Mm,
moving forward and going that
mm, mm,
let's choose that.
mm.
Even if it means nothing was your idea. Leadership doesn't mean that you're the one with the brilliant ideas. Leadership means knowing to choose which movement or which choice and which action is going to take something and exponentialize it.
Yeah.
So
And you have a leadership class coming up?
oh, I
Something.
do. I do.
Yeah.
Well, it would have, by the time this goes on, it would
Oh,
have
yeah.
already been live, but you can probably catch the replay. It's with David Kubis. And actually, what we are talking a lot about is the bars in business
Mm,
and getting that out there into the world. And I just think it's such a brilliant, brilliant way to, change change the vibration, the frequency of where the world is functioning from. So, I mean, you've mentioned world a couple of times too. So let's do this. It's like, because guys, you're listening to this, you're aware, you really are, okay? And please don't trust me, trust you. What are you aware of today that you haven't been willing to be aware of? And will you stop trying to align and agree with the world or resist and react to the world and reach into what you are aware of, which is a lot more. You are different. Stop trying to be normal and reach into that magic and the miracles and the beauty and the joy and the ease that is your reality. Like, this is my reality, okay? That's your reality. Reach into that, not the trauma and drama, not the, chucking a hissy fit because something's not working out and being the normal, creative dance director. Be you, wherever you are choosing, whatever industry you are working in the world, or whether it's with your family or your relationships. What if you're willing to lose everything and you could have everything and you didn't have to prove anything ever again? And you could use manipulation as that beautiful creative energy that Kalpana was talking about. Love it.
mm.
So, Kalpana, is there anything else you want to leave the listeners with?
No, I mean, if you can join Gary Douglas and myself, I would be so thrilled because there's so much, as you can see, there's so much to unpack. There's so much to talk about. And that's why this is like a precursor, and there's so much
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. And you can join online, and we'll have the details in the subscription notes. So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. And thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being here, and share it with anyone that you desire. And you can also join live. At this 10 seconds, I think the castle's actually sold out, but hey, you never know, check. But there is different places that you can stay in the region, and the hosts are amazing and they are wonderful and they can help you out. at least you can come to the castle during the day, and I'm sure we'll have some aperitifs or something like that. And it's to be in that space, like, will show you the space that you can truly be. To me, that's what the castle shows you, is this is the space that you be. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can take that out there into everything that you choose and be that, no matter what it takes and no matter what it looks like. Cool.
Beautiful.
Kalpana, I adore you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you soon in Prague. And yeah, thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram too. We have a Choice, Change, and Action has its own Instagram too.
Nice.
So yeah, cool. All right, so thank you. Thanks, Kalpana. Bye.